Hey guys, it's Brian Weinzettel here with Realty Texas, and today I want to talk to you about something super important called the IABS form. So first off, what is an IABS form? It stands for Information About Brokerage Services form. And the governing body here in Texas requires, it's called TREC, requires us to present this form to any buyer or seller client in first substantive contact. So what does that mean? Basically, hey, I'm showing you a house, I'm going to show you this form, or we're talking about your listing your house. And as soon as that conversation turns to price, what do you think the house might be worth? We got to show you this form and have it signed. So it's not a contract to work with a buyer or an agent for myself per se. It's just an information disclosure that they want you to know how you can be represented in the state of Texas and what that ramifications of that look like. So there's a couple ways. There's three actually. So not a couple. There's three ways to be represented in the state of Texas. And the first is you can be represented as a seller agent, and so it's called as an agent for owner, seller/landlord. And so what that means is that, hey, what we disclose when we're listing your house for sale is confidential between us, right? And so we're going to keep that close at heart. And there's kind of three main responsibilities for both a buyer agent and a seller agent that we're required by the state of Texas to uphold. So the first is that we must put the interest of the client above all others, including the broker's own interest, right? And so that means I'm not going to just sell your house and make a quick buck and tell you that it should be worth this price because I want to benefit. It has to be put your benefit above my own interest, not my own, what I want to happen to be to make me more successful, right? Also, I need to inform the client of any material information about the property or transaction received by the broker. So let's say we're selling your house and the client, we have it under contract, and I find out during the inspection that something has been come up for the buyer or of the house that they found about your property, and then now there's a defect. I need to let you know that they told me that, hey, they found this wrong with your home. Okay, so that's one thing. Also, let's say I find out that, hey, this buyer's lending is probably not going to be as strong as we thought. Their financing may fall through. That material information, need to relay that information to you. Then now that I've heard it from the lender or the other party, the buyer's agent, whoever it is, I need to pass that information along to you. All right, the next thing that we have to do, these are again the minimum duties, answer the client's question and present any offers to or counter offer from any client. Okay, so if I'm your agent, you, let's say I'm on the buy side, right? You want to write an offer on a house, it's $30,000 below list price. I don't think it's going to be worth it. My duty to you, if we're under contract working with one another, is that I need to present that offer. Even if I don't think it's a good offer, I need to present it for you on your behalf, right? I'm obviously going to try to educate you and say why we think we should offer more and things like that. But at the end of the day, you're in the driver's seat. If I'm your agent for you, I need to present that offer. Same thing on the listing side. If we get a lowball offer in, I still have to present it to you. I can't just say, hey, I'm going to present it, only this better offer. Or let's say, only I have an offer that I personally wrote in your house and I want to benefit because I'm going to have both sides of the transaction is really going to benefit me. I can't do that, right? I have to present all offers, my own offer, and plus any other offers that have come in. So that's on there, right? And then lastly, last but not least, kind of the golden rule, right? Treat all parties in real estate transactions honestly and fairly. Now, if you're not doing that, you really shouldn't be an agent. So it's kind of sad that it has to be on this form, but that's our minimum duty, is to be honest and fair with you guys and do our best efforts to make it work. All right, so back to the second way you can be represented. So as an agent, you can be represented as a buyer, right? And so this means that, hey, what your maximum approval amount is for and what you're looking for and what your motivation and timeline, all that stuff, I got to keep close at heart, right? All right, cool. The third way is to be an intermediary. So that would be, let's say, since you technically would be going under contract with a broker, which is defined as responsible for all brokerage activities, including acts performed by a sales agent and sponsored by the broker. So the broker basically is the firm that you are working with. So in my case, I work at Realty Texas. The broker of that company is Jack Stapleton. So you'd be working for him or with him essentially, and also Realty Texas as the brokerage firm. All right, and so with that, if you're an intermediary, right? So this means that our office, our firm, our brokerage has a property listed, okay? And then I'm representing you as the buyer and you want to see this property. Now, technically, since you're both parties that are represented by the broker, they need to step in and say, hey, we can't have any inter-office sharing going, right? I can't call my friend up that's the listing agent and say, I know these guys are approved for this amount, and so, counter back a little higher. And I also can't tell you that, hey, I know the seller has a bottom dollar of XYZ. So the broker kind of steps in and stands in the middle and says, hey, no cross sharing. Let's say it was the property I had listed personally, and you guys wanted to write an offer on it. We would assign at our office another agent to represent you to write the offer on the property, just so that there's nothing gray going on and that you're fully represented. So that's how that works. Now, there's one fine little detail in here. It's called as a sub-agent, and it's kind of interesting. So basically, I'll read this paragraph to you, and then we can discuss it. License holder acts as a sub-agent when aiding a buyer in a transaction without an agreement to represent the buyer. A subject agent can assist the buyer but does not represent the buyer and must place the interest of the owner first. So this is kind of serious stuff, right? And so if we're out there, let's say this happens all the time. You call me and you want to see a property, okay? Set up the showing for us, and we're out there and we're talking about the house, and you sign this IABS form, but we haven't signed a buyer agreement to say we're going to work together. Anything at that point that we've talked about, I need to relay back to the seller. So it's very crucial that, hey, if you're going to be out there shopping for a home, you want to go under contract with the buyer agent. That way they can keep what they talk about with you close to their heart. They don't have to relay it back to the seller, because in this situation, until you're under contract with a buyer agent, technically it's the agent that's showing you the house, the listing agent, and the seller versus you over here as the buyer by yourself, and all the things and information gets shared back to the seller. And so it's really not a good situation. I don't think people realize that it happens, and it's really, I guess it's important to have it on this form, because then you can be informed as to why you'd want to sign a contract to be under representation with that buyer agent, so they can represent you. So, a couple last things on here. It says to avoid disputes, all agreements between you and the broker should be in writing and clearly established, right? So the broker's duties and responsibilities to you, and then obviously kind of your obligations as a buyer client, okay? So we want to have you be loyal and trustworthy and stick with us, and kind of abide all the contracts that we have with you. So we're representing you, that you're not going to just try to skirt around us and try to go to the seller directly, cut us out of the deal, right? Not that you guys would do that, but it has happened in the past. And so that's one thing that we want you to have, is be, as loyal to us as to we are to you. And then lastly, who will pay for the brokerage services, right? So in our buyer agreements, it's written that, hey, buyer's going to pay our commission, whatever that amount is. It's for me personally, it's 3%, right? But if I collect from the seller is going to pay my commission. Right? So this really is how it works in the market. The listing agent takes the agreement, the listing contract, puts the home on the MLS for sale, and then advertises it on Zillow, Realtor.com, Craigslist, Facebook, wherever you guys saw it, right? And then I'm going to send it to you as the buyer client. And then if I'm on the buy side, I'm representing you. We write the contract. On the contract it says the seller shall pay the broker, the buyer's broker, agent, right, 3% of the sale price of the home. And so that commission is going to be paid from them to cover my cost. Now, where this gets a little bit iffy, I guess, so let's say you find a for sale by owner home, okay? I can represent you on that, but I'll need to obviously pre-negotiate that the seller of that home is going to pay my commission. If not, in that situation, if I write the contract for you, you go under contract to buy that home, and they don't pay the commission to me, then technically I would be owed a commission from you guys on the buying side. So pretty rare situation that happens, but it does happen, and I'm all about transparency and letting you know that what can happen in the worst case scenario for you, right? So that being said, it's very important to sign with a buyer agent or a listing agent so you can be represented fully, and what you talk about is not going to be discussed and disclosed to another party that you didn't want to have in the transaction. So if you guys got questions about this, obviously when we meet in person, by law, Texas law, we are required to show you this documentation, and so I will be presenting it to you. You guys, it's not a contract. The very last line here says, this notice is being provided for information purposes only. It does not create an obligation for you to use the broker services. Please acknowledge the receipt of the notice below and retain a copy for your records. So I'm going to show you this form. I'm going to have you initial on the bottom of it. At the very bottom of the form, it's going to have my broker's contact information, my manager's information, my information on there, right? And as well as all of our license numbers. So in case we do something that you feel is wrong and you want to turn us into the track board of commission, you can turn us in, and that way. Or if I just mess up and you want to talk to my boss, you can reach out that way. So it's a great form that the state of Texas is requiring. We have to give it to you guys. We have to have you guys initial on it, or at least initial that you declined to initial it, but you represented it as such by X, Y, and Z date when we first met. So hopefully that goes over it. This video got a little bit long, but it's a ton of great info, and I hope you guys learned a lot about the information about brokerage services form.